Tens of thousands of invaders/Democrat voters are pouring across our southern border, and help is not on the way. But it's not rocket science. If these illegals were turned right back around and sent right back where they came from, they would stop paying cartels thousands of dollars to get into our country. Because you see, while they claim to all be refugees and asylum seekers with little more than the clothes on their back, that's actually a lie. Because you don't cross the border for free. There is no such thing as free passage. These illegal aliens pay the cartel, and they pay them thousands and then suck off the American taxpayer once they get through. And if you're not outraged by this, you probably don't have a pulse. Hell, even New York City Mayor Eric Adams is outraged. He's made it known the Biden administration is not doing anything, and help is not on the way.
We are at an untenable situation right now, and it is painful for us. It is painful for the city, and I think that you see it being reflected in the polls. It is because our federal government actions have taken a toll on the people of this city. We're going to continue to do our job in this administration, but these are extremely challenging times, and as I left Washington, D.C., I did not leave with optimism. I left with the cold reality that help is not on the way in the immediate future.
Yeah, it's a problem, all right, a massive problem, but I fail to see the challenge. Why is this such a hard concept? These people are walking right on in, and yet these so-called leaders are acting like they're being beamed down from an undetectable spaceship. No, you're letting them in. You're feeding them, you're clothing them, you're sheltering them. You are allowing this to happen. This is a choice. That's why I get so frustrated talking about this every week. It's a solvable problem that no one with power wants to solve. They just keep putting their fingers in the fire and acting shocked when they get burned, or I guess more accurately, when we get burned because these lawmakers aren't feeling a damn thing. And they claim they can't stop the flow due to asylum laws. Well, guess who was sent by the American people to make and change laws? Y'all. So get to work. Joining me now and in just a moment is someone who I imagine is even more frustrated by these daily scenes than I am. She spent her time at the border documenting the invasion, most recently in Lukeville, Arizona, where she's watched thousands of illegals flout our laws, like this 20-year-old gentleman, a gamer and a content creator in Morocco, who paid thousands to get over here. So now, according to him, we owe it to him to take care of him. Take a look.
So because you paid $7,000, then it's okay if we pay something.
I don't care if this for America. I don't care.
So you're because you paid $7,000.
Yeah.
It's okay that Americans have to pay some money too.
Yeah, because America is my dream. If America doesn't want me, I'm here for America.
So you're saying you respect our rules, but you didn't follow the rules to get in.
No, look.
I mean, you know.
I know. I have no idea how to get visa to travel to America.
Joining me now is the journalist behind that video and many, many more like it, News Nation correspondent Allie Bradley. Thank you so much for being with me. I know you were recently in Arizona. Now you're in Texas on the border beat. I'm envious of you because I love seeing what's going on at the border, but I can only imagine how frustrating it must be. Tell me about that video. It went on much longer, but you have so many videos that are very similar to that one.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy. So that situation, I actually have a beautiful update for you. I actually just heard from Osama via WhatsApp. He's in New York City. He made it there. He's now asking me how he can get a job, if he can legally work, and how to get a bank account. And so that person in that video has already been gone through a processing system and is already released into New York, which is where he said he wanted to go. And when it comes to that video, I had a long conversation with him, right? And so it wasn't something where it was fragmented together. We talked for quite a while, and those were some of the things that he was saying. And he's not a one-off on this, Tommy. A lot of individuals that I've talked to along the southern border over the last 2.5 years, because that's exclusively what I've been covering, a lot of them tell me that they're here to work and yeah, they don't have any family here. And you even heard, if you listen to the rest of that interview, he was okay with his family staying there and just coming here to visit, but they didn't speak English. So he says they can go back to Morocco, which begs the question, how is he not safe there, but his family is, right? So there's a lot of those individuals out there right now that are going through the system, going through the process, and they're being put in what DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas refers to as removal proceedings under Title VIII. That was the premier removal authority before Title 42. It's been around, it's back around. But here's the thing. The removal proceedings under this administration, for the most part, include what this individual is dealing with right now. It's going to be a notice to appear within 6 months to 6 years. So most of these individuals are going through this process, and they say that they have to be able to go through this process and claim asylum. But as you even hear in that individual's interview, there's not one mention of asylum. There's not one mention that he's fleeing persecution. There's not one credible fear claim in the 12 minutes that I'm speaking with him. He does not mention that at all. 2.5 years ago, Tommy, you could not have paid a migrant to tell me that they were here to work or that they did not have family here. Now they're saying the quiet part out loud. It's very common to hear people down there. The vast majority of the individuals that I've spoken to and the ones in Lukeville were mostly from Africa. They're all here to work.
It's an entitlement that they feel. I've been to the border myself during the Trump administration, a much different scene during the Trump administration, as we know. When Remain in Mexico was the policy, when Trump threatened tariffs on Mexico and Mexico actually had to cooperate. I want to get to that in a moment because you did some excellent reporting on that. But just going back to that video and many more like it, I've seen a lot of your videos, whether they're coming from Africa or China or any part of the world, there's a common thread here that they just want to come to America. They want to pursue their dreams. They want to find a job. Maybe not. Maybe they just want to get a free hotel room. But I haven't seen many videos where these people are saying, I'm fearing for my life. I have a credible asylum claim. But why would they? Why would they have to? They know that that's not necessary. And when you have a notice to appear, or more accurately, a notice to disappear, they realize that they're going to come live and work in this country. They're going to hide out in the shadows. They're going to be gifted, the perks and privileges of being an American, even though they're not. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't flout our laws when they see what's happening. But let's talk about Mexico, because Mexico, you have also documented paperwork that you have seen on some of these illegal aliens, migrants coming through. Mexico is actively passing them through to the United States. Can you tell me what you've seen?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things with this. This has been going on for quite a while. When I walked with a caravan over 2 years ago, this was what was happening. The caravan was basically demanding visas, demanding documents, and those are what those documents are. So it's been going on for quite a while, but it's still going on. And the thing is Mexico has literally said, we didn't invite them here. They don't want to stay in Mexico. And they don't. They have no intention of staying in Mexico. So Mexico's like, well, why are we keeping them here? Go on. And you can see in that document there, it's clearly marked for transit. And they're saying, hey, we're doing our part. We're helping because we're allowing these individuals to live and work here. How is a 40-day transit visa allowing anyone to live and work anywhere? It's very clear what those documents are being used for, and it's to get them up and out of their country and into the United States. Because if they have that document, they can go through any checkpoint. If they don't, they're going to be stopped at those checkpoints and returned back to Tapachula or further across the Suchiate River to Guatemala. So that's what's going on down there. They literally are giving them a fast pass to the United States back door to Mexico. And I confronted Mexican authorities too, Tommy, because I was down there for 2 weeks and I was watching these human smugglers literally cut through the wall, blowing kisses at me, sending a Peruvian man with one leg through a hole that they cut in the wall. They're waving at me. One coyote literally summoned me over to the wall. I'm talking with him, about a foot away. He's laughing at me, recording me. It won't show me his face, won't tell me his name or how much he was paid to move those individuals. But with all of that said, Mexican officials were pretty much nowhere to be found. And it takes a little while to cut through that wall. It's steel, concrete, and there's 2 forms of rebar right in the middle of it. And they're using these power saws with these little angle grinder discs out there too. And that's what they're using. It takes like an hour. Mexican officials are nowhere to be found. So when they finally showed up, I asked them where they were. They didn't want to answer. They literally walked away from me. Someone in their group even threatened to take my phone because I had it through the wall in Mexico, demanding answers because where are they? A lot of people say Mexico could and should be doing more.
Yeah, well, too bad Kamala is not addressing those root causes. But I'm glad you brought up the wall and the physical barriers. I think a lot of people are wondering, where are Border Patrol agents? Because right there in the name, Border Patrol, you'd think if it took an hour to cut through the wall or the fencing, that Border Patrol could be there to respond. Now, this isn't me crapping on Border Patrol. It's not their fault. When you speak to these Border Patrol agents, I've spoken to them myself. Where are they instead of being there to make sure that the vandalism, destruction of our wall isn't going on?
Okay, so this is kind of a two-part thing here. So the first part is every single Border Patrol agent in the Tucson sector right now, including the ones at the port of entry, Lukeville's port of entry, which will be CBP officers, they've all been pulled. They're all transporting and processing the hundreds of individuals that are pouring through those open holes in the wall every single day. As soon as one of them is fixed, they've got a new breach point somewhere else. So it's like whack-a-mole down there for Border Patrol agents. And the reality is they can't be out there driving up and down that wall. Now, we did call Border Patrol when we were witnessing that. They showed up about 20 minutes into it, and they were armed. They were able to basically scare those human smugglers away. They packed up and left. But they were at it again about a half hour later, and we were able to, that's when we were able to see them send people through another cut in the wall. So it's constant for them, and they just don't have the manpower. Now, the other thing that's really kind of disheartening, and no, we don't want to, poo all over the people who are supposed to be protecting us. But at the end of the day, you have a lot of new hires, Tomi. You have a lot of people who are jaded in the, in the agency right now. And the reality is, one of the agents I talked to said, why are we going to go up there and put our lives on the line, get rocks thrown at our face, have guns drawn on us? Because they are known for brandishing their weapons and causing problems. They have thrown rocks at these agents, obviously, and caused problems. And they're like, they're going to cross anyway, because Tomi, they're crossing, and the administration right now is allowing it. So Border Patrol's like, okay, we're going to go deter them at this hole when we need to be doing something else. Or we could, they're not going after gotaways or anything right now. They are processing and transporting. So they kind of have this skewed mentality that's kind of jaded. Why are we going to do that when they're going to cross anyway, and it's going to be allowed?
Yeah, they're babysitting. And this sounds like a common thread, not only for Border Patrol agents, but our law enforcement agents who are feeling a lot of the same pressures and effects in our American cities, where they're wondering why they would chase down criminals when they know that they're going to be released from jail with cashless bail policies. This is law enforcement in general that has been demoralized and has been undercut by this administration and these policies. But you mentioned the smugglers, right? So this isn't just an American like myself upset that these people are taking advantage of us. This is also a humanitarian crisis, because you've got human smugglers, drug smugglers coming across our border relatively undeterred. You've seen a lot of these children. I saw other photos that you posted, children wearing addresses on their T-shirts. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the Del Rio sector, which is where I am right now, posted this one. This child came across unaccompanied, and that's very common for them to have writing on their shirts, to have a note card pinned to them. A lot of people talk about how these kids are being separated in the U.S. from their parents, and that's unfortunately not unfortunately, but it's the reality is that's not the case. A lot of these individuals, Tomi, are being separated in Mexico. I met two little girls, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old from Ecuador, who just kept asking me for their mom. It was pitch black out, 48 degrees. They were cold. They were by themselves. All the Border Patrol agents down there are men, and there's no problem with that. But when you're a child and you're a little girl, they didn't really have anybody that could offer them any kind of safety. And so I kind of stepped in and tried to be that middle person for them, and brought them some Pop-Tarts, and tried to have my dogs be able to be there for them to play with, because they were so distraught. The little girl, just tears were pouring out of her eyes. And the mom was already apparently in the United States. She wasn't in Lukeville. She's already in the U.S. And this is not the first case I've seen like this either. We've seen little girls come over in Eagle Pass. The mom, we called them on WhatsApp, and the mom goes, well, I told them to give her to that lady. And she didn't really care what was going on, just demanded that her daughter be sent to her. And that's kind of what I'm hearing from HSI Special Agent Victor Avila, saying that he's seen a lot of these cases. And a lot of times the parents give up their kids as payment, say they can't pay the cartel $5,000, but they have 2 or 3 children. And those kids might be able to help someone else cross that doesn't have kids, or other nefarious things can go on with those kids, but they kind of get a promissory note, right? We're going to send that kid back to you and reunite them with you. And I asked Border Patrol, I said, what are the chances that these little girls are going to find their mom? And they said they don't know, and they can't guarantee it. And that is the reality. And we've talked about, a lot of individuals that are down here, are here for a better life, economic migrants. I've met some asylum seekers. I've met people who have crossed the border and fell to their knees, dirty and disheveled and crying and absolutely distraught, coming to me, hugging me because they were gang raped in Mexico. A lot of really, really awful things. I've seen lifeless bodies pulled to the shore right in front of their children, resuscitated, people literally losing their life trying to come in. But for the most part, the vast majority of them are here to seek that better life, to literally come here to work. They are not fleeing persecution. And some of them that almost give up their life to be here, it's just for money. It's just, they're willing to die for money. And at that level, I mean, it's mind blowing, right? But that's not what our asylum system is. And that's not what the process is. And that's not the legal way through. And all of these people too, Tomi, none of the ones from Africa know about the CBP1 app. And they all traverse through Central America and Mexico. So it's really interesting because the messaging from DHS is obviously getting lost on that one because that is their legal pathway.
Last question I have for you. These individuals that are coming over from around the world, have they told you how they got to Mexico? Because you don't just walk from China. You don't just walk from Africa. Somebody's got to be funding this effort because it's got to be an expensive one just to get to the point where they can cross. Have they enlightened you at all into how they're making this travel and this journey?
So a lot of them tell me that they saved up and you don't just come to America without any money. It costs a lot of money. The ones in Africa specifically, like we heard from Osama saying that he paid $7,000 to get here. Now, they usually take a flight from whatever country they are in to another country, Nicaragua, it might be Venezuela, might be Ecuador, might be any of those places because they don't have the same stringent laws on visas and travel that the United States does. So they'll go there first and then they'll traverse from there. But here's the other thing. Most of them are not walking anymore. They're taking a plane to a bus to a car right to the back door. It is not a lot of people that are traversing on foot. 2.5 years ago, you heard that story a lot more frequently, right? They're walking all the way from Africa, even though we know that's not possible. But now they are being a little bit more honest and open about how they're getting here. Some of the individuals from Africa are apparently going to these IOM MRC centers, these kind of migration centers that are set up. And it's basically an arm of the United Nations. And the United States is actually the biggest donor of that program, if you will. And some of the people are kind of getting guidance on where to go and what is the best opportunity for them because, they might want to go to Europe because they all speak French. But there's somebody in the mix here saying the US might be a better option for you. And they get all of those things in line. It's not, they all have help from a friend, Tomi. And you're like, okay, so that's some kind of cartel member, somebody down the line, somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, right? And they're all friends. And you're like, oh, did you deal with the cartel? And they're like, oh, no, it was a travel person that helped me get a ticket. And you're like, okay, there's not a legal route here. So it has to be through a pipeline. It's a coordinated effort. Nothing happens on accident. And to hear Osama, who is a streamer and a gamer, say that he doesn't know about a legal pathway and his CBP1 app is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and he has $7,000 to get into our country legally that he's going to pay to a criminal organization. But yet, when they get here, we are supposed to pay for them. I wonder what the average American could do with an extra $7,000 this holiday season. It's outrageous. Thank you for all your reporting, following you on Twitter, you and our good friend, obviously, Bill Malhusian, out there putting out the truth, documenting this with videos. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Please stay safe and very happy holidays to you.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Tomi. I'll invite you to come down anytime. We can take on the border together.
Hey, I would love that, and I might take you up on it if they let me. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.